Now we're going to work through some problems that deal with a multi-ratio in the problem. A multi-ratio is very similar to the ratios we had dealt with in 3.1. However, instead of it just comparing two quantities, it's comparing at least three different quantities to each other. So our first problem here, we have at a university, sophomores, juniors, and seniors have this opportunity to study abroad. And this past year, the ratio of sophomores to juniors to seniors that studied abroad was 4 to 6 to 3. This means that for every 4 sophomores, there were 6 juniors and there were 3 seniors that studied abroad. And now we are told if 36 sophomores studied abroad, how many juniors and seniors studied abroad? So now from this multi-ratio that we have been given, we need to figure out what our sophomore to junior ratio is. And we also need the sophomore to senior ratio. This is because we are going to have to set up 2 different proportions to be able to figure out how many juniors there are and how many seniors there are. So my sophomore to junior ratio, well, the multi-ratio tells me there were 4 sophomores for every 6 juniors that studied abroad. So that is a 4 to 6 ratio. While my sophomores to seniors, we have that there were 4 sophomores for every 3 seniors that studied abroad. So that's our 4 to 3 ratio. So now from this point on, I'm going to work through the sophomore to junior one to first figure out how many juniors studied abroad. We have the ratio that we've been given, the 4 to 6. So I'm going to write that as a fraction because I want to set up a proportion. And now I'm going to set this equal to another ratio where we know the number of sophomores, and my 4 was representing sophomores, so I'm going to put the 36 that we know studied abroad on top. And then we need to divide that by our unknown amount of juniors that I'm going to call x. So now we can take this proportion and solve for x. I'm going to do the cross multiply method. So this is going to give us that 4 times x is equal to 6 times 36. So now I want to solve this for x. X is being multiplied by 4. So that means we need to divide both sides of our equation by 4. So now we have that x is equal to 6 times 36 divided by 4, and that should then give you 54, and this here is telling us our number of juniors. So we can say 54 juniors studied abroad this past year. Now we need to repeat this process to figure out the number of seniors that studied abroad. We know that our ratio for sophomores to seniors is 4 to 3. So that means I have 4 over 3. And I'm going to set this equal to my 36 amount of sophomores that studied abroad divided by the unknown amount of seniors that studied abroad. And now once again, we're going to do the cross multiply method to solve this for x. So we're going to have 4 times x is equal to 3 times 36. And now we need to solve this for x, so we're going to divide both sides of our equation by 4. So we have that x is equal to 3 times 36 divided by 4, which that should then give you 27. And this now is our number of seniors. So we can say this past year, 54 juniors and 27 seniors studied abroad. Okay, the next question, we have that a box contains red, green, and blue marbles, and that there are 600 marbles in this box. And now, if the ratio of red to green to blue marbles is 3 to 5 to 7, how many are there of each color? This one is a little bit different because now we have to take a look at what we have been given here. We've been given a ratio, but we also have been given that there are 600 total marbles in the box. But our ratio that we have isn't comparing number of marbles of one color to the total number in the box. It's comparing the colors of each other, the red to green to blue. So we need to figure out what would our red to total ratio be. We also need our green to total, and we need a blue to total ratio in order to be able to set up proportions with this, because that 600 that we're being restricted to here is representing total. Well, how can we figure out a total with this ratio of 3 to 5 to 7? Well, I can add those all together because I know for every 3 red ones, there has to be 5 green and 7 blue. So 3 plus 5 plus 7, that gives us 15. So now out of those 15, we know 3 of them are red. So we have a 3 to 15 ratio when we're comparing our red to total. For the greens, we know that 5 out of those 15 are green. So we have a 5 to 15 ratio for our green to total. And then for our blues, we know 7 of those 15 are blue. So 7 out of the 15 are blue. Then now we can set up our proportions. You're going to need 3 different proportions, one for each color, to be able to figure out how many there are for each of the colors. I'm only going to set up the one with the red, and then you can try and set up the ones for green and blue. So for our red marbles here, we know that there are 3 out of the 15 for the ratio that we had been given. For every 15 marbles in the box, 3 of them are red. So now I can set this equal to our unknown amount of red, which I'm going to call R. And then I want to divide that by our total in the box, which is 600. And now I want to solve this equation here for R. R is being divided by 600, so I am going to multiply both sides of the equation by 600. So now we have that 600 times 3 over 15, and that's equal to R. So that tells us that R is equal to 120, and this is our number of red marbles. So now I'm going to let you try and work through to figure out how many green and how many blue marbles there are in this box.